Hi everyone, welcome back. Our final leg from Prince George down to Bellingham, Washington. This is a fun trip. It's the last remaining leg of the trench, and it's about 2.5 hours flight time. We've condensed it here to about 16 minutes for you. So here we are taking off from Prince George, and it was just a beautiful day. You can see how clear it is, and we're really excited because we've come up this way a few times before, and the clouds can make it kind of dicey. There's some high peaks we're going to go by. Basically, right here you can see we join the Fraser River, and we're going to follow the Fraser River all the way down to Bellingham. And you can see the high terrain starting to show up there. And but it's not quite as high as it's going to get as we get further down here. This is really actually quite scenic and pretty. This is known as the trench, if I didn't mention that. And between here and Bellingham, there are three different routes once we get a little further down. But for now, we're going to follow the Fraser River, and that'll keep us right in the center of the trench there. Lots of pretty farmland here, lots of civilization. First little town we're going to be approaching here is the town of Quesnel. There's an airport there. It's about 50 miles south of Prince George. And it should just about be coming up here. There we are. There's a good picture of it. And we just continue to follow the river. As I mentioned, it's the Fraser River, and we're going to follow it all the way. So the next town coming up is called Williams Lake. There's an airport there, and this is where the route actually splits on the sectionals. And we got some reports of some fire and smoke down further along the Fraser River. And so we decided to take a little bit of a detour and follow the easternmost route, which is also marked on the sectional. And then that would bring us back to the Fraser River eventually. The last thing you want to do is fool around with smoke while you're in the hills. Smoke can really decrease the visibility in a hurry. So right here we're coming up on Williams Lake. Right there off to the left, you can see Williams Lake, and you can see how the river here will split left and right. And I think I cut the corner here, so you're not going to get a real good picture. But there's the town of Williams Lake coming up, as are most of the towns along this route. They're fairly small, but scenic. There's Williams Lake. And it's the San Jose River that exits out of Williams Lake, and we're going to follow it. And the nice thing along this route is there is a road all along it as well. This is Lake Lahatchie. It's called Loch Lahatchie, actually. And then at the other end of this, we'll be coming up on what's called 108 Mile Airport in South Caribou, British Columbia. And just hang in there, the pretty scenery is yet to come. We still have to cross a section of the Rockies to get back over to the coast. Kind of interesting, this road that we're following, I think you heard me just mention 108 Mile Airport. There's also 70 Mile House and 100 Mile Airport. So everything's kind of marked by distances on this section of road. It's Route 97, Canadian Route 97. You can see the mountains up there ahead. This was the prettiest day ever we've had flying up or down the trench. A couple other times we've been right down there between those, you want to call them peaks, right along the river and the road there. This turn coming up is where we're going to take a split as well, and again stay a little more to the east, just to stay out of those valleys where there's a possibility of fire and some reports of smoke. We not only had nice blue skies for this trip, the wind was almost negligible. It was very, very little bumps. That picture you just flashed by, you'll see another one here coming up, just kind of showing you the terrain. We're kind of a little bit above it, but in the valleys, but it's high peaks all around us. There, that's just gorgeous. You can see the water's moving pretty fast down there. You can see the rapids. You got to pay attention in these valleys when the weather's bad. On this day, we got a really good view. You could see when we're supposed to turn. When you're down low following the river, you just really need to pay attention.
And you can see the snow on the mountains. We were trying to determine if it was because the peaks were high, and we think that's what it was. Sometimes you could see snow, sometimes you couldn't.
The last time we came up this way, if you look at the road there on the left, it's actually higher than the river. And we were down along the river and the road was above us. Now, along this stretch, there are also not any power lines crossing, so that's a relief as well. The route that's more inland and directly up through the mountains has some pretty high power lines going across it, so you want to pay attention to those. The nice thing for you pilots is on these trips in Alaska and down these valleys, you're not on autopilot. You get to fly. It's a lot of fun. We're substantially distanced from Alaska here, and as Carol pointed out, you can still see snow up there on those peaks. Those are the Rockies, so they're high. This is pretty, and we know we've got it made. This is now getting close down to Bellingham, Abbotsford. We're still in Canada, and you can see the airspace there. And basically what we want to do is get permission to cross the border, although we do have a squawk in our transponder that was assigned to us from the control tower at Prince George. But I still like to make a contact with the controlling agency there before we cross the border. In this case, it's Abbotsford Tower, and they were just super. They picked us up just a little bit further down from here. You can see the land starting to get a little flatter. Abbotsford is just on the other side of that hill in the top right portion of the screen. So unfortunately the hill is blocking the radio communication. But as we got closer, I turned to the left here, you'll see, and went up over to that little lake, and we managed to get in touch with the tower. They got us on radar and cleared us across the border into Bellingham. You can see the terrain on this entire trip. While some of it was somewhat inhospitable, there were roads the entire way and places to land if needed be. And a lot more signs of civilization than we've seen on some of the other legs. And it was just kind of a good feeling. Here we are pretty soon here crossing back into the US. And of course we had to have the international flight plan opened up by the tower. And then we'll close it when we land in Bellingham. And we had to wait for customs to come out as well since we crossed the border. So we had to do the APIS flight plan as well as a aircraft flight plan FAA with Canadian Flight Service. You can see the Bellingham Airport there right about 12 o'clock. There we are turning final. And that's the San Juan Harbor and the San Juan Islands all out there. Hi everyone. Well, that concludes our trip to Alaska this summer. If you remember, we left June 21st. We got back around July 7th. And I hope you've enjoyed watching those videos as much as we enjoyed making them. And I have to tell you, I enjoyed watching them more at home, I think, because it's like watching a movie where you know the ending. In some of those interesting spots where there's no sign of civilization, I knew we got out the other end okay. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. I hope I've inspired a number of you to make the trip. What Carol and I are going to try and do over the winter months is actually put together a pilot's guide for going to Alaska. So we'll use a lot of the pictures that you saw in the videos, and we'll try and put all the things that you need to do in some kind of fashion that will help you actually plan the trip for you and maybe some friends to go with you or family members. It really should be on your bucket list if you're a pilot to fly to Alaska. It's the most rewarding trips we've done in all of our years of flying. So we'll work on that book and try and get it done over the winter for you. But again, thanks for watching and allowing us to share this with you.